This is an intro into prisms and how to calculate the volume of prisms. So when you look at a shape, if the bottom and the top or the bases have the same shape and the sides go from the top to the bottom kind of like in straight segments, then that is considered a prism. So a cylinder is an example of a prism. Here we have a chalk box, and the top and the bottom, the bases are the same shape and size, and the edges, the faces on the side are all straight, going from the bottom to the top. So this is a prism as well, and you define the name by the base. So this is a rectangle, so it's a rectangular prism. If it went to a point, then that would be a rectangular pyramid, but we're talking about prisms in this one. Now, some of them are kind of more normal geometric shapes. So the base here is a triangle. You can see that they're both triangles. The sides are all, the faces are all flat. So this is a triangular prism. But it doesn't necessarily need to be a normal geometric shape. So this one here is kind of mostly a circle, but it's got these pieces kind of cut out. It's a little bit elongated. But you can see, from the top to the bottom, I could have like line segments that would go, nice and neatly. And then the bottom is the same shape as the top. So this doesn't necessarily have a name, but you could actually use this generic formula that we're going to talk about to calculate the volume of this or any one of the other prisms. So this is a helpful formula to memorize, and from it, all of the prisms are going to have the same basic format. So if you understand this, then you can actually have a lot less memorizing to do. So the volume formula is base, and you can see here that I used a capital B versus a lowercase b because we're talking about the area of the base. So when you're talking about a two-dimensional or flat object, you might have been talking about like base times height to find the area. So like the area of a rectangle, base times height. But here I'm saying, hey, I want to calculate, the area of this rectangular prism. So if I'm trying to calculate an area of a rectangular prism, first thing is identify the shape of the base. So if I'm going through here, it's a rectangle, hence the name. And then I'm going to write my general formula. So here's my general formula. Volume equals base times height. And then I'm going to say, okay, I know that the area formula for this base is length times width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just write the formula again, but instead of putting in the base, I'm going to put in the area formula for the base, length times width, and I still have the times height. And some of you have probably already seen that formula before. So the same thing would be true for any one of these prisms. So I could start with like a cylinder. And once again, we know that a cylinder, the base is a circle. Okay, so once again, this is the base here. And how do you calculate the area of that? Well, the area of a circle is pi times radius squared. So once again, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to identify the shape. It's a circle for a cylinder for the base. I'm going to write my general formula. And then I'm going to substitute in, instead of base, I'm going to say, oh, well, to calculate that area of that base, it's pi times radius squared. And I'm going to multiply it by the height to get the volume. Now, why is that? So, for example, if you had, and calculated the area of a penny, and, if you kept adding to the height of it, you're basically you're filling up the volume and you're getting more and more space being occupied. So I found to find the volume, I'd find the area of the base and then like how high this stack is. Now, an important thing to understand about when you start plugging in and substituting in values and calculating, remember that your units are always going to be cubic units. Okay, so for example, cubic centimeters or cubic inches, because what you're actually doing is inside of this, you're saying how many little cubes can I fit in this shape, okay, in this solid. Okay, and then let's just kind of look at triangular prism, because that's another common one that we see. So once again, starting with the general, and we know that it's a triangular prism because the bases are triangles. So volume equals base times height, and we're going to say, okay, there's that base, to find that base, it's going to be 1/2 base times height, but we need to be kind of careful that this h and that h are not actually the same thing, so it gets a little bit wonky in terms of writing it from there. So if I did this, okay, I'm talking about this height here, so the base, here's the base, oops, lowercase b, so this length, and then a perpendicular up, this height, multiply base times height, divided by 2, just like, or times 1/2, so just like you would do a typical triangle, and then you're going to multiply by this h, okay? So 1/2 base times height, and I'm putting it in a different color just to indicate that it is actually a different value, okay? So once again, prisms can be any shape. You could have something weird like this as long as the top and the bottom are the same and the sides go up. If you find the area of this and multiply by the height, you will find the volume, and once again your units will be cubic centimeters, cubic inches. So not a lot of memorizing, just get this basic formula and understand what gets inserted in there. Good luck.